Welcome back to Historic Mysteries, where we delve into the dark and curious cases of the past. Today we travel back to the year 1840, to a small English village where a chilling crime took place. Our story revolves around John Templeman, an elderly landlord living a quiet life in his cottage. But that quiet life was about to come to a brutal and sudden end. One day, neighbors found Templeman dead in his home. The scene was grim, and it was clear he hadn't died of natural causes. He had been murdered. As the authorities began their investigation, whispers and rumors started to spread throughout the community. Who would want to harm a quiet old man like John Templeman? The answer, it seemed, was closer than anyone thought. Suspicion quickly fell upon a local man named Richard Gould. Gould wasn't exactly the most discreet person. He had a reputation for being a braggart, and recently he'd been boasting to anyone who would listen that he was about to come into a large sum of money. In a small village, that kind of talk gets noticed, especially when a wealthy man turns up dead. The timing was just too perfect, too suspicious to ignore. Gould was arrested and put on trial for the murder of John Templeman. The prosecution laid out their case, painting him as a greedy and desperate man. However, the evidence against him was circumstantial. There were no direct witnesses, no definitive proof tying him to the act itself. Despite the strong suspicions of the community, the jury found the evidence lacking. To the shock and dismay of many, Richard Gould was acquitted of murder. He walked out of the courtroom a free man. But this is where the story takes a bizarre and fascinating turn. You see, a reward had been offered for any information leading to the capture of the real killer. And who should come forward, attempting to claim this reward? None other than Richard Gould himself. In his attempt to cash in, Gould provided the authorities with an astonishingly detailed account of the crime. He described the events of that fateful night with a clarity and precision that was unsettling. He revealed specifics about the robbery and the murder that only someone who had been there could possibly know. It was a classic case of a criminal getting too clever for their own good. His greed had led him to overplay his hand, and he had just sealed his own fate. While the law of double jeopardy meant he could be tried again for the murder he'd already been acquitted of, his detailed confession was undeniable proof of his involvement in the robbery. Richard Gould was arrested once more. This time there was no escape. Based on his own words, he was found guilty of robbery. Although he had dodged a death sentence for murder, he didn't walk free. Richard Gould was sentenced to transportation for life, a punishment that would send him to a penal colony far across the ocean, never to return to England again. It is a strange and cautionary tale of how a man's own greed and arrogance ultimately led to his downfall. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this case as intriguing as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Historic Mysteries for more stories. We'll see you next time.